This is a Beltone banjo from the 1930s. It is about the most basic banjo I've ever come across, 5-string wise. It has 12 hooks, that's it, on an 11-inch pot. There is no coordinator rod, there is no dowel, there is a single bolt, and I thought that was plenty odd, but other examples I found online of this era Beltone, same story. A lot of people will put a single rod there just for some increased stability, because it is just that one bolt. There's not even a secondary one just to keep this neck straight. So when this came in for some basic setup and to make it playable, the first thing was getting the neck straight. Unfortunately, the neck is a bit warped, but it is still playable. Got it to be as much. The original friction tuners, one of them was missing, and so I replaced all four with some period correct ones, and the original tuners are saved and will be going back with the owner. One of these hex shoes was missing as well, so that was replaced just by going back, figure cat, just by going into the back of the shop where they've been dealing with Slingerlands and other banjos of that ilk since 1926. So we have a lot of these hex shoes and flat hooks. So again, only 12 hooks, no rod. The neck appears to be poplar or pine or just some light wood. It has warped a little bit over the years. The fingerboard is also another white wood that's just being stained, and you can see in those first few frets where the stain has worn off over the years. The neck is narrower like a lot of older banjos, so I was happy to get another one of these Grover non-tips. These are becoming harder for me to find, and I actually really have grown to have an affinity for these bridges. There's a simple steel hoop underneath here, and again, this is about as basic as a 5-string that I've ever come across. The stretcher band is a very thin thing of metal, which the flat hooks or cobra hooks, some people I've heard call them, just kind of clamp onto that. So there's been some debate as to who's made these, is my understanding. Looking at some of the elements of this, I can see why some people feel that this was a K build. I thought it was made in Chicago also, but some later examples of Beltone banjos that I've seen remind me a lot of the Leo Master banjos, which were made in New Jersey, I believe northern New Jersey. They have that distinctive resonator to them. I don't know where this was made. Again, if I were to bet, I would bet it was one of the Chicago makers, just because there's a lot of elements that remind me of a lot of Chicago banjos. The light wood, the hex shoes, just some of the shapes involved, and this heel thing that's going on. Again, I don't believe that this was made any later than 1940, 41. I've seen some examples of Beltone branded banjos from the 20s, which look like they were a little bit better of a build. But again, this is bare bones banjo. It sounds alright. It's definitely playable, but it's not, as far as vintage banjos go, it's probably not the most collectible thing out there, but that's never really influenced myself. So there it goes. It's also exceptionally quiet. So 1930s Beltone banjo. If you have any more information on these that I do not possess, I would appreciate that. It seems that this banjo has spent most all its life in the Oil City, Pennsylvania region, which is pretty cool.